This is dedicated to the homies that was down since day one. Welcome to Drop D.
Hey, what is up? What's shaking? What's going on, guys? Welcome to Quick Hits, a JFK Assassination Research News and Notes podcast. This is episode number 33. My name is Doug Campbell. I'm me, as always, my buddy, my man, researcher emeritus, Mr. Rob Clark. What up, Rob?
Wow, researcher emeritus. Hey, what's up, Doug?
Damn right. What in the hell is going on with you, buddy? Nothing new in our world, right? Just boring shit lately.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Nothing to see here.
Mild-mannered podcasters being left to our own and, just not causing any kind of stink, I wouldn't think.
No. Maybe 2 years ago, but, I mean, that's, neither here nor there.
But, there was no kerfluffle. There was no kerfluffle 2 years ago. The episodes came and people listened, and that's just, and then the cycle of life happened, and then, hell, I don't know what happened.
Move on, you forget, and
And then you know what happened, Rob?
Somebody went digging in the archives.
You know what happened?
Mount Jimbo finally erupted again.
That's what happened. Anyway, look.
Yes, it did.
Look, we'll maybe get to that later. But once again, we have actual forward-moving, forward-thinking, current JFK assassination research, news and notes to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that we're proud of with this show is that it cannot be said that what we talk about, our research, is in a state of suspended animation since 1998. Not us. No, we're always digging through new crap.
No.
Always digging through new crap. And once again, we have some intriguing, tantalizing stuff ongoing. Forward-moving, forward-thinking stuff for everybody. Now, how would you like to get us started today, my good man?
Well, Doug, should we wait to address the elephant in the room a little later in the show, or you want to hit a little bit now and a little bit later?
Well, he's napping, the elephant.
What's that?
He's napping right now, the elephant.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll start off here. I got something I found.
He's jet lagged, Rob. He's jet lagged. We'll let him get. Yeah. Von Slap was back there in the control room feeding him peanuts earlier, and he got sleepy.
All right, I came across something here in the, I believe it was the Harrison Livingston archive at Dealey Plaza, UK, Doug.
Am I familiar with this archive?
Well, yeah, it sits right next to the Malcolm Blunt archive, and it sits right, over at Dealey Plaza UK website, uploaded by Mr. Bart Camp.
You know what? I probably have perused that.
If you haven't, you need to.
Yeah, the Bart sent us a different link to that stuff previous to him uploading it to the Dealey Plaza UK website. So when I want to access and research and dig through those files, I usually still use the link that Bart emailed us. Haven't actually navigated to that archive through the Dealey Plaza UK website, but I need to. I should, absolutely.
You do. Yeah. All right. Have you ever heard of Wayne Hartman, Doug?
Off the top of my head, I would say no. No, sir.
Okay. Well, thus, and from an FBI report dated August the 10th, 1964, we have a FBI report, again, put together by Agent Bob Barrett, who was very active on November the 22nd, 1963, and A. Raymond Switzer, okay?
Okay.
It starts off like this. Wayne Hartman, accompanied by his wife Edna, that's such a sexy name, was interviewed in the office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Hartman said he is self-employed as a manufacturer's representative, calling on drugstores, department stores, and gift shops in various states throughout the country. He resides on Seaside Drive in Irving, Texas. Okay.
All right.
Hartman said he had learned through a radio broadcast that the FBI had been conducting additional investigation in the area of the Triple Underpass where President Kennedy was assassinated, and reportedly was looking for another bullet that might possibly have been fired at the time of the assassination. Upon hearing this broadcast, Hartman said he felt he should report the following information to the FBI. Doug.
All right.
So, on November the 22nd of 1963, Hartman advised that he had business at the courthouse in Dallas, Texas, and had proceeded from the courthouse to Mullendor's Cafeteria at 601 Main Street, Dallas, Texas, shortly after 11:30 a.m. Hartman stated while he and his wife were in Mullendor's Cafeteria, someone announced that President Kennedy's motorcade was proceeding west on Main Street and would shortly pass by on the street outside.
Okay.
Hartman stated that he and his wife took up a position on the northeast corner of Record and Main Streets to view the motorcade. He said after the motorcade passed their position, he and his wife returned inside Mullendor's Cafeteria. Within a few minutes after returning to the cafeteria, Hartman said he heard some shots, and a comment was made that President Kennedy must be receiving a gun salute. Hartman said,
in the middle of a motorcade in downtown in a city. That would not be my first thought. Oh wow, they've got an honor guard out there firing for him while he goes by. No,
fanfare.
Not a logical assumption to make. No, sir.
No. Hartman said this did not sound like a satisfactory explanation to him, and he and his wife.
Hey man, Mr. Hartman, smart cookie.
Yes, very smart fellow. He and his wife left Mullendor's Cafeteria and walked west on Main Street, stopping on Houston Street, just above the grassy area that separates Main and Elm. Hart related that he and his wife observed much confusion and saw a woman and child lying on the grassy area on the north side of Elm Street, about midway between the Triple Underpass and Houston Street. Okay, so now what they're seeing here as they come up on the scene, I believe are the Newmans, who we do have pictures of on the ground with their children, right?
Yeah, on their bellies.
Right. And this was, of course, after the shooting. They stayed laying down there for, a little bit of time.
Yes, sir.
So Hartman stated he also observed a police officer and a young boy standing on that grassy area that separates Main and Elm Streets, about midway between Houston and the Triple Underpass. Hartman advised he and his wife, out of curiosity, proceeded down to the location where the police officer and the young boy were standing to determine what had happened. He stated the police officer or the young boy commented that someone had shot the president. At this time, Hartman stated that he noted a gouged out hole in the grass that was about 1.5 inches in diameter. Now, the location he's talking about here, Doug.
Yeah,
so
I'm trying to picture it.
If you're in the Zapruder position,
you're standing where
and you're
Abe
looking
Zapruder
across
was.
Elm Street.
Standing on the pedestal
You're
with
looking
Abe.
across Elm Street. Yeah, so it's going to be on the same side of the grassy area that Gene Hill and Mary Mormon were standing, and Charles Brem, and all those people. So we're talking about, in between Elm and Main Street, right?
The median, I guess. The big grassy area, the median.
Right.
In between, sort of in the triangle.
Yeah, in between Elm and Main Street.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay. Yeah. He stated this hole continued just beneath the roots of the grass for about 18 to 24 inches.
Uh-huh.
He said the ground was not heaved up, but it was soft to the touch and could be depressed Hartman said he was able to fit 3 fingers into the hole. Uh, no, we're not talking about Beverly Oliver's. Uh, this is a hole in the ground near where she was allegedly standing if she was the Babuska Lady.
Uh-huh.
Hartman was exhibited photographs 7 and 8 of the photography exhibits appearing in the report of the special agent Robert Jimberling, dated November 30th of 63. Hartman stated he and his wife were standing about 5 feet south of the curb in the area where the culvert or manhole cover is located. Okay.
All right.
So we've all seen the picture
Yeah.
of the agents kind of around that manhole cover where they're kind of looking back at the school book depository in the background.
Yeah, and looks
so-
and they're in their photo that looks like it's kind of taken from the ground. It's kind of looking up at them as they look at
Right.
this storm
Yes.
drain and all that. Yeah. I
Yeah,
know
so
they're
we're about
brilliant.
5
There's brilliant people out there that can tell you exactly who took that photo. I don't know, but I do know the photo. I don't know the details.
There's about the area he's talking about is about 5 feet away from that manhole cover. Okay.
Yeah.
So where he found the gouged out hole, right? He said this gouged out hole was in line with the general area of the school book depository building. He said some bystander had mentioned that he believed the shots had come from the Texas School Book Depository building. Upon realizing this, Hartman said he and his wife left this area and returned to Houston Street between Main and Elm. He stated they remained at this location until they heard the announcement over the radio that President Kennedy had been shot. He stated they then returned to the Dallas County Courthouse. Hartman advised that on Sunday, November 24, 63, he and his wife returned to the area where they had first observed the gouged out hole on November 22nd, 1963. So on Sunday, they went back. Okay. He said the grass was trampled down by people and they could not relocate the hole. Hartman stated that he did not know if this incident had any significance, but he thought he should bring it to the attention of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
So maybe they missed a bullet.
Maybe they missed a bullet.
I'd never heard that before.
Right. So, upon receiving this information, the FBI needed to investigate. You
That's
know what I
really
mean?
interesting.
Yeah. Because then that, of course, lends to the possibility of more than 3 shots. When you have all these different holes or wounds or curved scratches.
Well, I think you and I would both agree.
Count for.
Yeah, you and I would both agree that the evidence clearly shows more than 3 shots. It's 3 shots is Warren Commission bullshit.
I would definitely agree.
Definitely agree. And this could have been one they missed.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going into Fetzer land where there's 8 or 9 shots or 13.
No, dude, Fetzerland, he had 9 shooters at one point.
Yeah, 13 shots, 9 shooters. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 of those shooters were on the grassy knoll.
Yeah. Vying for position.
Wow, man. Yeah, he had a virtual.
Hey, Doug, did you know he was one of the first hosts of Black Op Radio?
I had forgotten that, and now thanks to you, I remembered.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just figured I'd throw that out there.
I do remember he used to be on that that show. Yeah, years ago. And then there was a kerfluffle, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah. But
right,
now, you know probably more detail as far as the circumstances and allegations in Dealey Plaza, maybe than I do. So let's count that bullet, right? Okay, and we've got the nick on the concrete. We got the fragment that hit Tague. The nick when they're looking down at the storm drain thing.
Right.
But
right.
You know more about that stuff than me, those details. So how many bullets total or parts of bullets were possible that we could have found. Maybe.
I would say maybe 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, not sure on the math on that. But yeah, I've never heard that name, never heard of that. But it looks like. But if I wonder how he said it was kind of. Did he reading that document again? Like it was kind of shallow, like sort of more flat than it was straight down. The way he described the trajectory under the grass.
Yeah, he said that the hole ran that. Of course, he could fit 3 fingers in the hole, and then it ran about 18 to 24 inches under the grass. But when he pressed on it, he could depress the grass. So that's how he knew that there was a little micro tunnel underneath, the section where he was pressing on, as opposed to the ground around it.
Well, that might seem like a long way for it to travel, but maybe no, because high-powered rifles in Dealey Plaza small. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would, that would make sense if it were a rifle round. Absolutely. I wonder what would happen if you showed up in Dealey Plaza with a metal detector. I wonder how fast the authorities would be on you.
Well, luckily we don't have to, Doug, because on September the 18th of 1964, with the use of a Detectron Model 27 metal detector,
dun dun dun,
Special Agents Nat Pinkston and Robert Barrett searched a 300 square foot area that was located at the culvert on the south side of Elm Street in Dealey Plaza. This area was located based on a description of a gouged out hole in the grass as furnished by Mr. and Mrs. Wayne Hartman of Irving on August the 6th. This gouged out hole had been observed by the Hartmans on November the 22nd, subsequent to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The Hartmans had pinpointed the area where they had observed the gouged out hole from photographs 7 and 8 from the photography exhibit appearing in the Gemberling report dated November 30th, 1963. The area searched was a half circle area encompassing the culvert using the culvert as the center. Found through the use of the metal detector were, are you ready for this, Doug?
Yes.
1 bottle cap and 1 aluminum plug. Now, I don't know if this plug was of the butt variety or if or what kind of aluminum plug this could have been.
Could have been it could have been a casing for something, or a plug you put in a. Yeah, there's all kinds of. I was wondering if it was smooth or threaded. That would be my question, because that would answer your question to some extent. Because you don't want one of those that's threaded. Come on.
No. That means you'd have to twist it in. That's not comfortable.
That's going to chafe, Rob.
Yes, that'll leave a mark.
That'll leave a mark.
The aluminum plug measured 1 inch long and 1/2 inch wide, and no fragments or other evidence was found in the area observed.
How wide?
Yeah.
How wide was it?
1/2 inch. 1 inch by 1/2 inch.
That's interesting. But no bullets, obviously. Or in '64, I don't have a lot of confidence that if they found one, we would know about it.
Yeah, no, because I believe the allegation was out there fairly quickly about bullets missing. I mean, those guys in that photograph were over there for a reason. And they probably metal detected the area way before August of '64. That would be my guess. And if anything was to be found over there, they would have found it already then. And then this was just a dog and pony show for the benefit of the Hartmans. That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's all I got on that. I just thought I'd bring that out there. I'd never heard of the Hartmans before or their allegations. So
neither have I. And the way the guy talks, if you listening to you, he was pretty sure that he had, the end of a bullet trajectory there. And it certainly sounds like it. And it sounds like it was fresh, the way he was talking about pushing down on it. It wasn't something that had been there a while.
I mean, it was something that he observed with his own eyes, walking over there. Hey, there's a big 3-inch hole in the ground here. What the hell's that about,
Wow. What if he'd have just pulled his pocket knife out and went to digging, in all the chaos and actually found a bullet and pointed it out to the FBI,
Yeah. I mean, things could have been a lot different, for sure.
Things could have been a lot different. I agree, man. Very interesting, Rob.
And real quick,
yeah.
And real quick, though, while we're on this topic, I just wanted to hit you with this real quick and get your reaction. And it relates. I believe we were talking. Well, I kind of casually mentioned about the Babuska Lady's 3-inch hole on the. But I came across some very
guys. Rob loves to make that joke. He loves that one.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Wait, hang on, Rob. Okay, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
And I'm getting confused between a 3-inch hole. It was not a 3-inch hole. You could fit 3 fingers in it.
Yeah, that would be, what do you like 2-inch hole, 1.5 inch, 2-inch hole?
Yeah, maybe 1.5 inch. If it's tight. If it's a loose hole, maybe 2 inches. Okay.
Moving on.
Let me moving right along here. And this is from a letter to Harry Livingston from researcher John Woods II, who is very prolific with his collection of JFK-related photographs. Very rare and hard to find stuff out there. He says, Dear Harry, I'm currently reading chapter 2 of your book and indeed find it very intriguing. I should have this chapter in the mail by the end of next week. And skipping through, he says, I have enclosed some documentation regarding the films. Some of these documents are in my book. I understand that Oliver brought up my name before the review board regarding the film footage shot by the Babuska Lady. Harry, off the record, I strongly believe that the Babuska Lady was not Beverly Oliver, but was in fact someone named Mrs. Beck. I have enclosed a document for you. I can tie Mrs. Beck closer with the community and Oswald. If you're interested, please let me know.
Well, this is very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. The documentation
dude,
section of my book.
You find the coolest shit, dude. You find the coolest shit, man.
I try. It's what I do.
It's what you do, man. Hell
Bob is a researcher extraordinaire, or emeritus. Yes. Yeah, it said the documentation section of my book deals with some of the letters exchanged with Bronson attorneys. He says, do you have any information concerning a Mary Farrell of Dallas, Texas? I have strong reasons to believe that she may have been leaking information during the Garrison investigation. And he says, I have on file color photographs of the limousine after the assassination. There are numerous large pieces of matter throughout the limousine, and the windscreen is soaked from end to end in gore.
Oh, wow.
I checked with my sources concerning Grodin in Texas and could not come up with any information at this time. I will pass on any information for you should it become. Sincerely, John H. Woods, or John R. Woods II, sorry. In Chinyo Investigative Services from Aurora, Colorado.
All right.
And this was in 1995,
right?
Just for shits and giggles.
But do you have anything there on this lady Beck?
Well, hang on.
All right.
I got a letter back to John Woods from Harrison Livingston. Okay, and he is, of course, the author of High Treason and High Treason 2. Dear John, I want to thank you for the document you sent. The enclosed chapter on the Zapruder film is strictly confidential. I hope you might be able to add to it or correct errors. I think I got you in there somewhere. There have been some revisions and rewriting, but it's not easy to print out just now. This is even more confidential and for my new book. Please do not disseminate. We've got a very big story with the official reenactments of the assassination, and it concerns the films. We were sure they could not do this without the real Zapruder film or some very accurate film. The Z film differs greatly from the position of the shots in the reenactments. Weisberg had access to the documents in the 60s and let this lie buried. It turned out the FBI had Beverly Oliver's film, but they called it the Nix film. They described the photographer as standing in a particular place and gave all the measurements to the foot. From that, it was easy to check who was standing in that spot, and there was only one person anywhere near there, and that is the Babuska Lady. Nix was a full block behind her. We found all this in the National Archives. I have written her about this to see what she really knows. She must have seen everything. The fascinating thing is that the Stemmen sign points like an arrow precisely at her. Look on the inside cover of the Trash book, and through her to Nix on the corner of Main and Houston, and just a few feet behind him is Bronson. They might have all been in an exact line, which leads to the question, were they placed there? You can see that being in a line like that can both show premeditation and a powerful conspiracy, but it also enables the conspirators to plan their cover-up by knowing precisely through triangulation where everything happened. I still don't believe that the Bronson film is legitimate. I think it is a version of the Nix film. Since I talked to Bronson and he flatly denies that he could have got the camera going in time. He said he saw Jackie on the trunk when he got it going. Look at the last snapshot he took and gauge how much time he had to start the camera. Then there's a statement to me by Grodin's mistress that he worked at the same Kodak plant in Dallas for 5 years in the late 60s that helped to develop the original Zapruder film. Can we verify this somehow? Do you have any thoughts on this? Sincerely, Harrison Livingston. Okay. Now.
Oh, wow, man. How many things are wrong with that letter?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
Wow. Yeah, dude, that's there's some comedic material in there for sure.
Now, I don't know how accurate that statement is, okay, that they said that they've, from using the Nix film that they measured, from where that person had to be standing, and it was nearest to the Babuska Lady position. But I'm pretty sure the Nix film shows the Babuska Lady in the foreground as he's right.
They faked that, Rob. They faked that. At that, what's the place?
Here's what he's saying. Here's what he's saying, Doug. Okay, okay.
No, wait. Let me disclaimer.
Hold on.
This is a disclaimer for the audience. This is not me making the claim that they faked it. No, I'm not saying that. I was being a smart ass because I do not think they did. Rob, I just wanted to, you know how people will hear shit and just run with it? Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. So, no.
So what he's saying is that the Babuska the Babuska Lady's film is gone. And that the Nix film...
He called it Beverly Oliver's film.
Right. Beverly Oliver's film. But then he was saying that the thing we know is the Nix film is actually the Bronson film. And that the real Nix film is the Babuska Lady footage that we haven't seen.
Yeah, that's pretty off the wall there. That's pretty off the wall.
So yeah, a lot of crazy shit going on in there.
You know what? I like your phrase. I was being a little nicer than you. But when you called it crazy shit. Yeah, that letter's some crazy shit. 100%. Start to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got, Doug. I just wanted to throw that in there as well, since we were talking about holes and three fingers in the holes and Babushka ladies and everything else. But, crazy stuff.
There's a great old Humble Pie song with Steve Marriott called 30 Days in the Hole. Check that out. That's a great song.
I'd be tired after that.
Yeah, it's a really good song, man. Ace Frehley covered it a few years ago. I've actually played that on the Dallas Action because it's badass.
Sweet. What do you got, Douglas?
Well, we're going to go from the world of crazy shit to the world of crazy coincidences, sir. And that is all. I do not think that this links the two in a conspiratorial way, what I'm about to bring to you, dear listeners, as it pertains to the JFK assassination. But this document that I ran across, if this were an episode, Rob, of the Dallas Action, like the first half of a Dallas Action episode, I would call it either Gotta Be a Coincidence, or I'd call it When Worlds Collide, Watergate and the Life of Lee Oswald.
Ooh, I like the second one. I like the second one.
Dude, look, I've got you hooked now. I'm reeling you in now.
I'm all in, buddy.
That last title, it just, edge of your seat now, right?
I can't not listen.
When Worlds Collide, Watergate and the Life of Lee Oswald. Now, guys, there's an upcoming episode of the Dallas Action, Mr. Rob, that you guys can look forward to, that's going to feature our friend Ted Rubenstein. And me and Ted are going to go in a little deeper on some more documents regarding the General Walker shooting. That is, of course, the assassination attempt on ex-U.S. Army General Edwin Walker on April 10th of 1963. Walker was, of course, a notorious Kennedy-hating, ultra hard right political figure in 1963. On April 10th of 63, somebody fired a rifle at General Walker and barely missed his melon as he sat at his desk. Then, a little over a week after the Kennedy assassination in early December of 63, Lee Harvey Oswald's widow, Marina, would tell investigators that it was, in fact, Lee Oswald who had tried to kill Walker back that past April. Now, this file we're going to go through, Rob, here is a file on General Edwin Walker, and it comes from, we were just talking about it a while ago, dude, the Malcolm Blunt Archives.
Yes.
As digitized and uploaded for us all for the benefit of humankind by our dear friend, Mr. Bart Kemp. Thank you again, Bart.
Yes, uploader emeritus.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And truly, man, for a historical research community like ours, it can't be said enough what a public service that is. All that hard work of scanning and uploading that he did. I mean, it's amazing.
To put all this stuff online, it's a Herculean task.
I would have the attention span to do that for about 3 hours, and I'd be like, "Oh my God," it's just me though.
Hey, Doug, you know, Bart's had a lot of foot problems in the past couple of years. I think it's from carrying all these goddamn documents around and unloading them from one car to another, to the copy machine. It has to be. I mean, your feet will split wide the fuck open doing all this work. So,
what a hard worker, man.
God bless you, Bart.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a public service, literally. Yeah. It's a public service for people like us, who don't scan documents and shit. Suddenly there's tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of pages that deal with the stuff that we can dig through and look and study and speculate about and form opinions about and gain context. And, dude, thank you again, Bart. But this document, Rob, let me see what I got here on it. The date on this file is May 1st of 1967. It is an FBI document, record number 1241033110202, record series HQ. Again, originator FBI. It's a 22-page file, my good man. Subject, General Edwin Walker. Now, what this is, dude, it's an extremely interesting file. It's basically a summary of information containing many different synopses of information reported to various government agencies beginning in late 1962. All right? And it's on General Walker. Huh?
I'm with you.
All right. Now it's about General Walker. Now this is 1967. Now, when I say the phrase seat of government. What do you think of?
Phew. Seat of government.
Seat of
DC?
government. DC.
DC? Yeah. Like some kind of a county executive, maybe.
Well, the official seat of government for the United States of America is the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. This document starts out supplemental correlation summary. Main file number, yada, yada, yada. See also this and that. Subject, Major General Edwin Walker. And at the bottom, and it says this summary has been prepared for use at the seat of government and is not suitable for disinformation. It is designed to furnish a synopsis of the information set out in each reference, and in many cases, the original material will contain the information within or something, and then it just kind of blotches out. But this is a supplementary summary.
So somebody in the Senate or the House requested this material, sounds like to me.
Exactly.
For some reason. Okay, yes.
On Walker. And they want to
Yeah.
basically give me everything you got on Walker, and these individuals or these organizations going back to a certain time. May 1st, 1967.
Wasn't Walker writing letters to several congressmen and representatives, trying to get somebody's attention about what he wanted to get out there,
Well, see, that makes sense what you just said, because this thing reads not like a report, dude. It reads like a threat assessment. No
Right.
shit, of Walker and his extremist white supremacist ties in 1967. Dude, this is info from all over, man. Multiple agencies, CIA, FBI, NYPD, the New Orleans PD, and Army Intelligence. It's crazy. Let me give you some. Yeah, dude, let me give you some examples. This page. Louis J. Nicoletti, investigator, 2nd U.S. Army Industrial Security Field Office, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Air Force Reserve, advised that he attended a Christmas party at the Willow Grove Naval Air Station on 12/15/62, at which time he became socially acquainted with a Mr. W.T. Cayley of the Cayley Research Foundation, Wayne, Pennsylvania. Nicoletti stated Cayley spoke of a counterinsurgency training program which had as its objective to hold down the American public. Cayley said he had literature regarding counterinsurgency, and this counterinsurgency was related to Major General Edwin Walker of the U.S. Army in Texas. Cayley did not specify the relationship between Walker and counterinsurgency. Cayley said he would only make some of this literature available to Nicoletti, but Nicoletti, after departing the club, never heard any more from him. This report, April 6th of 1965, Judy Lee Crockett, 530 East 84th Street, NYC, New York City, advised that during one of her brief contacts with a Jack Grant Wilson, he mentioned he had been in contact with Edwin Walker, former Major General in the U.S. Army. He did not disclose to her the nature of his association with General Walker. She stated that in April 1963, Wilson was president of the Intercontinental Services, Inc., Van Nuys, California, that he had reportedly been in contact with an unknown man in Alabama in the spring of '63, who loaned him microfilm of component parts of missiles and aircraft, for which Wilson allegedly paid $10,000. That's a lot of scratch in 1965, dude.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This next sentence. This contact was arranged by Walker. Damn it. Selling military secrets? What it sounds like, doesn't it? I mean, no shit. That's what that sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, where am I at here? This one's from 1964. Check this one out. Bureau memo dated 1864 captioned National States Rights Party. Advised that information received from a confidential source of the Tampa office revealed that Dewey Taft, Florida State Chairman of the NSRP, indicated at a recent meeting that he was in the process of preparing an issue of the American Digest. This issue was to, quote, headline the fact that Bobby Kennedy had his brother, John F. Kennedy, shot, that Ruby and Oswald were in on the deal, that they tried to kill retired General Edwin A. Walker before assassinating the president. The serial indicated that the American Digest, was the NSRP publication printed by Taft in Tampa, Florida. Now that sounds a whole damn lot like the stories that Walker himself would tell. A little bit. There's one discrepancy. I don't think Walker ever, in the years, he always said that Bobby Kennedy got Ruby and Oswald kicked loose the night of the 10th. But that they kind of turned on Bobby Kennedy and whacked John Kennedy. It was all Walker's story, kind of, right?
Right.
Yeah. But that's crazy. And this one, dude. Where am I at? Yeah, 1960. It says New Orleans 1436-R. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an FBI informant in New Orleans. That's how that works. That's what the NO means. Advised that a meeting of the Bastrop unit of the UKA Knights of the KKK was held on May 23rd, 66 at the Bastrop, Louisiana Clavern, north of Bastrop. The main topic of discussion at this meeting concerned a rally to be sponsored by that unit. It was decided that the main speaker at the rally should be either Barry Goldwater, General Walker, or Jack Cannon, Grand Dragon of the this and that. And, here, dude, this one, a familiar couple of names and numbers show up. Check this out. This is right here in the middle of this seat of government summary. Familiar names. It says here, MM639-S, we know who that is, advised that Gerald Patrick Hemming left Miami, Florida on 7/3/1963 and arrived the following day in Dallas, Texas, where he conferred with Edwin A. Walker, former Major General in the U.S. Army. Walker told Hemming that he did not want to participate in Cuban affairs because he did not want to back any specific causes, but rather be available to fight communism all over the U.S. We've heard about that meeting for years. You know, Hemmings told people about that July 4th meeting for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Anyway, that gives you an idea of what is in this threat assessment for someone on Capitol Hill regarding Walker. Now, here's the crazy coincidence part, and this is what made this so interesting to me. And another huge reminder, Rob, that of what a small world, ultimately, what a small world of individuals it is that we study. All right? This goes, This goes all the way back to October of 1962, right after Robert Kennedy had Walker arrested and thrown into a military mental hospital.
Oh, yes.
Right after, after Walker had incited a riot at Ole Miss on September 30th of 1962. Now, the name's going to jump right out at you, but I'm going to go ahead and just read this, jump right out. But this is crazy that his name appears in a file on Walker from 1967, but the document's from 62. It's crazy to me. Check this out. On October 16th, 1962, Detective Anthony Ulasewicz, New York City Police Department, Protect Identity, furnished a leaflet published by the Nationalist Party, which revealed that since the founding of the NP in September of 1961, the members and supporters of the NP had backed Major General Edwin A. Walker, U.S. Army. Detective Ulasewicz stated that at a meeting of the NP on 10/13/62, Gilbert DeMille, press secretary of the NP, criticized the action of the U.S. government in Oxford, Mississippi, and supported Walker's action there. Ed Wheel from New Jersey, who was in the audience, stated he heard Walker speak to the crowd in Oxford, Mississippi, and that he made no statements which could be considered seditious or traitorous. Now, did you catch that name, Rob?
I did not.
Anthony Ulasewicz is
right.
The New York detective who in 1962 has infiltrated the Nationalist Party.
The Nationalist Party, yeah.
In New York City. Anthony Ulasewicz, the Watergate bagman, Nixon's private investigator.
That's who it was?
That's who the detective was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The guy
wow.
dude.
Yeah, I'm not as into the Watergate shit as you. The name escaped me, the importance of it. But yeah, that's a weird coincidence there.
I know. And you know what? For the listeners, and I'll give you guys a little background, man. He was the guy that delivered hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of hush money to Dorothy Hunt, wife of the CIA's E. Howard Hunt, and Watergate burglar.
Right.
Yeah, who many believe, was involved in the Kennedy assassination. Now, Ulasewicz, he was the PI that Nixon immediately, that day, sent to Chappaquiddick. Right after that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the guy who was undercover infiltrating hard right hate groups, showing up in Walker files, dude, before Chappaquiddick and Watergate. See what I mean? Worlds collide.
Yeah.
Watergate, General Walker, and Lee Oswald, dude. But again, seat of government.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Somebody from up on high, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. But you know what? I just thought that was a crazy coincidence. But Ulasewicz,
sure is.
He joined the New York City Police Department in 1943. Served. Then he joined the Army. Then he joined what was known as the NYPD's Bureau of Special Service and Investigation, which was called BOSSI, BOSSI. And according to Spartacus, his assignments included escorting and guarding the security of world leaders and their families. He was hired by Jack Caulfield, of course, into the Nixon White House. Over the next 3 years, Ulasewicz traveled to 23 states gathering information about Nixon's political opponents. And he was sent on, like it says here, on July 19th, he was sent to Martha's Vineyard, less than 2 hours after the body of Mary Jo Kopechne had been found in Edward Kennedy's car. So he was there just like that. And, Dorothy Hunt died in that airplane crash with thousands of dollars of hush money that Ulasewicz had just given her. For all the Watergate burglars. So, and look, and I know, we like to laugh. We like to have a sense of humor, guys. I highly recommend going to YouTube and watching Anthony Ulasewicz Watergate testimony in front of the committee. Because the guy he missed his calling. He should have been a comedian. He was one of the most naturally funny figures in anything like this that I've ever seen. It's very highly enjoyable. But yeah, there you go, Rod. Worlds collide. Watergate.
Wow.
And the life of Lee Oswald. What do you think about that?
I like it. All right.
Well, hey man, we got some things that we need to discuss. We need to settle in, kick back, relax a little bit, and free form. But would you like to take a little break first? Play a little promo for everybody, and me and you can hit the bathroom. Not together.
So, folks.
Not together.
No, we are hundreds of miles away from each other.
Literally. Which is a shame.
Yeah, so
really.
Stay tuned, folks, for the part of the show that you've all tuned in to hear. It's coming, I promise.
Yeah. All of the stuff that you were hoping you'd hear us discuss together, we're about to discuss together, guys. Absolutely. So, hey, we'll be right back.
And now it's time for your Canadian radio moment of Zen.
because the interest is so strategically high.
This has been your Canadian Radio Moment of Zen.
And welcome back, guys, to Quick Hits number 33. With me, as always, Mr. Rob. Hello, Mr. Rob.
Hello, Doug. Good to be back with you here on the other side of the break.
The other side of the break. Well, Rob, you know what, guys? The recent kerfluffle, I kind of said my piece on the Dallas Action special episode uploaded yesterday, June 10th. So I really don't have much else to say, but Rob does. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time.
Well, allow me to retort.
Yes, allow me to retort.
Allow Rob to retort. Everybody's favorite, everybody's favorite segment, but one we don't necessarily like to do, but I guess we do when we have to.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
So, folks, of course, I stopped listening to Black Op Radio many moons ago. So the only way that I knew what was being said about me was, of course, through other people that do still listen. And of course, Doug brought it to my attention with some sound bites. It's pretty damn sad, not to mention disrespectful, to get somebody's name wrong. Now we do it on this show as a matter of for comedic effect at times, or to refer to people that we don't want to actually say their name.
Right, we'll change their names, but it's usually, but there's never anything like premeditatedly malicious about it. Usually when we do something like that, it's because somebody's acting like a dick.
Right.
I mean, there you go. You want to play? Let's play a little example of what you're talking about with the name thing.
Go ahead. Yeah, please.
If you remember, like Bob Clark and Doug Campbell, they actually devoted a show. What was it called? The Liza Fletcher.
Yeah, the Liza Fletcher party. What a joke!
Yeah,
what an embarrassment. I mean.
Bob Clark. Now, he wrote us a nasty email. And who we're talking about here is James DiEugenio from the website Kennedys and King and frequent guest on BOR. I think I'm going to just use that, BOR. And he wrote us a nasty email. And when we gave his documentary series a 7 out of 10 review, that wasn't good enough for him, and he wrote a nasty email, called it a dirty smear, and called you Bob there. But he's done it more than once on Black Op Radio.
If you remember,
or BOR,
like Bob Clark, and
hence the reason for me starting off my last few Lone Gunman episodes with this is Big Bad Bob with you. For those that aren't in on the joke, now you have the full context of the joke.
Dude, this morning, the episode that I uploaded at the Dallas Action special, that was just yesterday, the day before we're recording this. Okay, Rob, I was on my way to work this morning. Not to work. Well, yeah, here where I work, but I was on my way here to do this with you. And at 6:30 this morning, I got a text. Excuse me. I still got a little discomfort in the old chest from the COVID bout, guys. If you hear me coughing and clearing my throat and whatnot. But dude, I got a text, from someone this morning, an author, right? And I'll say this, I'm not going to set him out, but if you are a person who has ever listened to 5 episodes of the Lone Gunman podcast, the Dallas Action, Quick Hits, The Ocelli Effect, BOR, or the Midnight Rider News Show with S.D. Patrick. If you're that guy, that gal, who has in their lifetime listened to 5 episodes of those 6 shows, then you know who this dude is. Okay? You know who he is, and I'll bet you own at least one of his books. So it's 6:30 this morning, dude. I shit you not, Rob. 6:30 this morning, I get a text, and the text says he was listening to the show I did yesterday, and the text said, "Hey, maybe Jimmy and Lynn have a conspiracy theory about a Rob doppelganger named Bob."
It's quite possible, you know.
How would that go? How would that go?
Wow, that was beautifully produced.
That is coming soon, ladies and gentlemen, to a
That's a movie I want to see.
To a 5th-rate bookstore near you. Bob.
Yeah, now look, folks. My opinion on Jim DiEugenio is thus. And I'll give it to you straight. Because you know I don't blow smoke. I believe this is a very egotistical, egomaniacal. I mean, this is a guy who developed a website to host his own book reviews about other researchers' work. Okay? He thinks himself such an expert on the Kennedy assassination that he can critique any book that comes out on the Kennedy assassination or the Martin Luther King assassination or the Robert Kennedy assassination or the Dag Hammarskjöld assassination or whatever the hell you want to call it, Patrice Lumumba, whatever. Okay? And speaks so authoritatively that many, many people have been drawn in and duped. And he fits into the category of the authors who write books that have put themselves into a box, folks, where anything other than the theory that they peddle is just inconceivable and ridiculous.
Very well said.
That's and not to mention, he has a very boring, monotone delivery that puts me to sleep. That's why I stopped listening to Black Op Radio, honestly. I couldn't make it through an episode. So instead of sleeping pills, if I ever want to go to sleep, I could just pop on an episode of that and listen to Jim D talk. Okay? Now, me and Doug, have been around the JFK assassination research community, at least online, for the better part of 10 years.
Yep.
And of course, I've been researching for far much longer than that, 30 some years. We have been out in the public domain for the last 8 years. Okay. We have been on the education forum for the past 8 years, 10 years. I know he's seen my name.
You have been you were a part of a conference. You hosted an interview segment at a major research conference within a year of starting your podcast. These
Correct.
people hired us to interview presenters for their DVD. That was within a year.
Correct.
Rob Clark.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Now, we don't like to talk numbers, but Rob Clark is closing in on 7 figures, boys and girls.
Yeah, alone. Combined, we are already there, Doug.
Oh, my God. Yep.
We're already there. So, for somebody to be that ignorant of the fact of who we are. Now, you know, I've authored many threads in the Ed Forum. I've been involved in many threads in the Ed Forum. My name is certainly there. To to be seen. I've directly messaged Jim DiEugenio in the past when he decided to dick ride some of our posts on Facebook to promote his own shit. And
troll
for him,
he trolled. That's what that was.
Yes.
No two ways about it. It was trollism, pure and simple.
Trollism. Now, Doug, I want to read you a tweet that I got last night. Okay, and this is after I put up the your episode on my Lone Gunman feed, my From the Vault feed, and my Quick Hits feed.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Because when I upload anything on Spreaker, it automatically goes out to Twitter and YouTube and Spreaker, okay, and Facebook.
Yeah.
So I mentioned in one of the things that Jim DiEugenio and Lynn get their comeuppance, okay. So this is a tweet I got in the middle of the night last night. Somebody replied, "Their comeuppance? ? LOL. As if anyone listens to you two crackers. Ku Klux Clark is a thug who only gets attention through fights. The other guy, Larry Campbell, sounds like a failed cast member of the Beverly Hillbillies. These two are the pork rinds of the JFK research community." I got that at 3:04 a.m., Doug.
Well, who's it from?
Joe Lawrence.
Who the fuck is that?
Well, apparently nobody, but somebody who frequently likes to retweet Jim DiEugenio.
And you know what else? Joe Lawrence listens to every episode of every podcast we upload.
Yes.
That's a guarantee. Who listens, Joe? You listen, Joe. You listen.
Yep. And here's my response, Doug.
All right.
So saith a dyed-in-the-wool Jimmy D. chode smoker. I love how idiots that accuse us of certain behaviors don't know the facts. We put our shows out 2 years ago on Prouty. We didn't attack Jim and Lynn. They attacked us in the previous 3 months of shows, talking shit about shows that we put out 2 years ago and not bothering to get even the most basic facts correct. So that was my response. And this is typical. Okay. We get accused of starting fights and starting shit with all kinds of people.
Hey, you want to have fun with something? You got your phone handy?
Yeah.
Can you tweet at him right now? We'll see if he responds. Can you please ask your buddy to show his evidence with citations that Fletcher Prouty would ever, for any reason, know George Joannides of the CIA by both sight and true name? Tell him we're waiting on that. Still waiting. Right. Always going to wait.
Still waiting.
Maybe he can get a hold of his buddy.
On the bench. Waiting.
Yeah, maybe he can get a hold of his buddy and get his, hey, we all want to see that, man.
Well, apparently Joe Lawrence is a woman. Joe Lawrence.
Okay,
woman's
her.
Picture. Yes, her.
Oh, well.
I just want to get basic facts right.
Hey, man. Hey. Okay.
Her, she, they, them, it, whatever.
The state of douchebaggery is gender neutral, my friend.
This is true. We don't go looking for a fight. I'm sorry that you have a problem with the facts supported by documents that we put out on our shows, causes you somewhat a discomfort or causes somewhat of a monetary interruption in your life. Leno Sanic, runner of Prouty.org, the home of all things Fletcher Prouty, where you charge money for Fletcher Prouty documents, where you make money off of his rotting corpse. Yeah, Prouty.org, that, run by you. So, of course, he's going to take offense to anything that is said or put out there in the world to disparage the good name of Leroy Fletcher Prouty.
Well, of course.
Because it's going to affect his pocketbook. So, when me and Doug, put out information that we can back up through documentation and testimony, you want to call us an embarrassment to the research community, call us jokes. That right there is rich. that makes me laugh. Because me and Doug, don't say anything on our respective shows without being able to back it up. And when we are speculating about things, we'll let you know.
Oh my God. Speculation. You know, I read that article pretty carefully. L. Fletcher Prouty and the ARRB. And you realize only one line in that whole thing stood out to me, and that was that line that about Prouty would have recognized George Joannides immediately and known why he was there. Had he went in the hearing room? George Joannides wasn't in the hearing room. He was the gatekeeper for the documents. He was off talking to investigators. You know, but that and on the episode of the Dallas Action I did yesterday, I called it an Evel Knievel-esque leap. All right? What is he trying? What image is he trying to conjure up in our brains? Prouty's going to walk in the hearing room, and he's going to look over in the corner, and he's going to spy George Joannides, and he's going to thrust his arm out horizontally with an extended index finger and go, "That man is a spy. Seize him." Man, come on, please. Come on. Fletcher Prouty. Again, anybody that can provide evidence with citations that he ever met, worked with, or knew by sight or by true name, the Central Intelligence Agency's George Joannides, then please do. Please do.
Right. I mean, that is, as you stated beautifully, a Evel Knievel-sized leap.
Dude, that leap is so big, Evel Knievel looked at it and went, "No fucking way. Are you insane? I'm not doing that."
Right. And we could sit here and we could go back through everything that we've said, but for more context, please go back and Doug, was the episode 173 for you?
174, August of
174.
2020. August of 2020. That's 22 months ago. That's almost 2 years ago.
Right. And in my feed, I put it up on the Lone Gunman feed as in case you missed it, which was my appearance on Midnight Rider News with a show entitled The Life and Lies of Fletcher Prouty.
Well,
not The Lies of Fletcher Prouty.
Now, that wasn't even the official title of that, though. See, and that's another thing. That and even the secondary title they mangle, because when you guys, and I guess we do need to okay, for those that maybe don't know, you know, we have 3 shows between us. There's only one of them we do together, and that's this one, Quick Hits. So there was no Bob Clark and Doug Campbell uploaded their show. It didn't happen. It just didn't happen. But this was a 4th thing. Rob did a guest spot solo at the Midnight Rider News Show almost 2 years ago. It was actually titled Clark on Prouty. But, Rob, the production company that does the Lone Gunman podcast and uploads Quick Hits, they have Loose Moose Productions, 6 different podcast channels. There's one called the Lone Gunman Podcast from the Vault. When it was uploaded to that, repotted there, that episode that is solo you, that's not our show, was at that point retitled by Loose Moose Productions, The Life and Lies of Fletcher Prouty.
Correct.
Those are the details, guys. And every time, you know, someone goes flip switch, engage cake hole about the thing at BOR, it's those guys and these guys and Bob Clark and Doug Campbell, as if it's Quick Hits. So You're calling someone an embarrassment and a joke in public and fucking the details up that hard? Really?
Right. And we're supposed to believe and listen to anything that you say on Black Op Radio or written at Kennedy's and King's with any kind of validity or seriousness? GTFO. That means get the fuck out of here with that. You've lost your credibility. You've lost any respect that you've ever had over here in the research community. Your relationship with Oliver Stone and pushing the whole Alan Dulles crap. I mean,
or spending a month acting as Vladimir Putin's very own Canadian propaganda minister.
Right.
And under the topic line it says JFK assassination research. And what do you get? Bolshevik propaganda.
Yeah, and what happens? Oh, you lost your server because of it. You had to get another one. Okay? We don't make money from corpses over here. Nothing that Doug and I do is sitting behind a paywall. Our listeners don't have to pay for shit. Okay? We're not selling them shit. All right? This is not a cottage industry for us. We don't have books. We don't have DVDs. We don't have, quote, record collections, document collections that will sell you. That kind of shit in the research community should be disseminated for free. Much like what Bart Camp is doing over at Dealey Plaza, UK, with the collections of Malcolm Blunt, Ian Griggs, and Harrison Livingstone.
Amen.
For free.
And you know what else is not? You know what else is not going to happen over here? If, in the unfortunate event, someone that we disagree with vehemently, someone that we disagree with often, if in the unfortunate event that someone like that should pass away unexpectedly or of a horrible disease, what we would do in that situation is let it go and just not mention it. Just carry on and do a show. We damn sure wouldn't dance on their grave for 2 weeks straight.
Right.
You know, I'll say no more about that.
There's a lot of people that we may disagree with in this community, but we're community for a reason. Okay. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, whether we agree with it or not. But we also have the choice to listen to their opportunity or not, to turn it off or not. Okay? So when you disagree with somebody and you don't want to hear what they say, that's where you don't listen, you don't read, and you block, and you disregard, and you move on. Or you can waste time arguing for years about certain things. I've learned my lesson, believe me, from arguing with Fetzer and Ralph Sinkay for years and years and years, and all the horse shit they've put out in this research community that people are still buying to this very day. Yeah. Wasting time on people like Judith Berry Baker, Files. I mean, I could spend my life trying to debunk the frauds of this case, and I've instead chosen to focus on moving forward and the more research aspect of things, and digging up documents and finding kernels of truth in things and trying to put the puzzle together, rather than focusing on, you know, it was a Jack Ruby double in the basement who shot Oswald, and you know, it was Lee Oswald standing on the front steps of the depository, and it's you know,
or something like
did all this fakery,
or you get just goofy ass unsubstantiated speculation, like what happened in the Education Forum this morning on the thread about all this. The guy says, well, I'm sure that General Krulak changed his tune because he didn't want the CIA to kill him. And they're all like, yeah. I'm like, oh, right. Jesus Christ.
You know, and so, you know, you can get bogged down in the weeds very quickly.
Get bogged down in the bullshit.
Right. And for somebody to think so highly of themselves that they are the self-appointed authority on the Kennedy assassination because they have somebody who's famous worldwide and a director of a movie. He's in their ear and he's getting paid handsomely, I'm sure, for his information and, whatever. It's just so egotistical. It boggles my mind to highly critique others' work and get it wrong. And like Doug so eloquently stated in his manifesto yesterday, about, like John Newman, good luck tearing down his work. Okay. Good luck. And when you do and you get it wrong, you look like a giant boob.
They haven't bothered to try to tear down Newman's work because they can't. They choose to ignore it.
Yeah,
it's the only course of action. It's the only course of action.
Antonio Veciana and all this 30, 40-year-old research that they don't want to move their stance on despite new information coming out because it doesn't coincide with their narrative of the books written 30 years ago that probably still has a garage full of that he's trying to sell.
This giant consensus view of CIA primacy with Dulles as puppet master stands firm if your thinking is in a state of arrested development at about 1998. And there you go.
And I'm not saying Jim DiEugenio doesn't have a great mind. I'm sure he does, and it would be interesting to me if he would get out of his bubble and move on and get with the past 20 or 30 years of research and all the documents that have come out and move forward instead of relying on a 30-year-old movie and 40-year-old research and sticking to his guns about a book that he wrote that long ago and his conclusions. It's okay to admit that you got it wrong, dude, and move on and do something greater and better with your life. Okay? That to me shows growth as a human being. You have retarded yourself, stuck in a swamp from that long ago, and it just makes you sound ridiculous when you speak. Now, Doug brought up General Krulak, okay? I'm going to read to you folks a letter from March of 1985, okay, that I believe is a forgery of a letter. And I'll tell you why. Because the original letter, okay, has a typewritten header that just says Victor H. Krulak. Not some fancy stationery that from the desk of former General Victor Krulak. Nothing like that. It's just typed Victor H. Krulak. Okay? Here's what it says. And this is a typed letter, not handwritten, typed. The only thing handwritten on this letter is the signature. And to quote Fletcher Prouty from the early 70s, so many documents now need to be called into question. It's so easy to fake official-looking documents due to the invention of the photocopier. All you need to do is a little cut and paste. Okay? Keep that in mind, folks. And here we are, 15 to 20 years later from that statement. Dear Fletch, and I'll skip the bullshit. The pictures, the two policemen are carrying shotguns, not rifles. Their caps are different. One has a white chin strap and one is black. One has a Dallas police shoulder patch and one does not. And their caps differ from that of another police officer in photo number 4. Reasonable conclusion? They are either reservists or phonies. And as you know, city cops don't have anything to do with sheriff's offices. As to photo number 1, that is indeed a picture of Ed Lansdale. The haircut, the stoop, the twisted left hand, the large class ring. It's Lansdale. What in the world was he doing there? Has anyone ever asked him? And who was the photographer? Why did he take the pictures? What did he do with them? I have examined my own records and find no clue that would help. Suffice to say, It is a fascinating proposition. Enclosed, I am returning your pictures. Best regards always, sincerely, signed, Brute Krulak. Okay? Now, Doug, do you have the audio queued up and ready?
Ready when you are, sir.
Okay. Fast forward from this letter here 6 years. And this is researcher and author Harrison Livingston interviewing Victor Brute Krulak in his home. Doug, please play the audio.
All right, here we go.
Prouties, you're well acquainted with his viewpoint about
conspiracy,
about General. What the hell was his name?
Lansdale.
Lansdale.
How about is it Conane? I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Conane. Yes, he was a fellow who wore an army uniform, a CIA contact.
Was that true also of Lansdale?
Well, Lansdale was as Prouty will tell you, was an Air Force officer.
Yeah. Do you give any credibility to the possibility that either of them might have been involved in the plot or been at Dealey Plaza on the day of the murder?
No, I have the remotest knowledge of that. The only things that I've ever heard is what Prouty has told me.
Yeah. How credible do you feel he is in terms of he worked closely with you, I understand.
Who, Prouty?
Yeah.
Yes.
But did you read his book, The Secret Team?
No.
Do you consider yourself still friendly towards him?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because he does idolize you, you know. I mean, he
absolutely. I regard him as sound, solid, respectable, and honorable.
Yeah. He says that in some of the photographs taken in Dealey Plaza just after the murder, in the background, he believes that he sees Lansdale.
Yes, he has told me that.
Yeah.
I couldn't corroborate it because I don't have any independent information or evidence.
Yeah. Did you know Lansdale at all?
Sure.
Would you have any reason to suspect that he might have been involved in it?
No. Yeah. No, I would not.
Brute Krulak, everybody.
Yes. Now, there's a lot of interesting tidbits in this little piece of audio. Okay? One of them being, okay, he's asked if he's ever read Fletcher's book, The Secret Team. No. The answer is no. Okay? And also the fact that, from what I understand, is what Prouty has always said, is that Lansdale was a CIA guy who wore an Air Force uniform.
Absolutely not.
Correct?
There is not one indication anywhere in the official record of that. He was always an Air Force officer. Dulles didn't get his promotion for him. Roswell Gilpatrick, who was Deputy Defense Secretary, I believe, at the time. I can look that up exactly what he did. He did it.
Right, and that's corroborated by Krulak saying here, no, he was an Air Force man. He specifically says that Conine was CIA in an Army uniform. He does not say that about Lansdale.
No, because Lansdale was an Air Force officer. That he was CIA wearing an Air Force uniform. You know, when you ask people, well, where does that come from? How do we know that he was CIA wearing an Air Force uniform? You know what the answer always is? Prouty said so.
Fletcher Prouty said so.
Fletcher Prouty said so. Well, what about the entirety of the paper trail of Ed Lansdale's entire career? That don't matter. Right. Well, what about the fact that internal CIA memos contemporaneous, back and forth between like Helms and his deputy and Harvey, they all absolutely have nothing but pure disdain and disrespect for Ed Lansdale, the Air Force general that's poking his nose in their shit.
Right.
Oh, well, they did that for cover. You know, I'm waiting for the one that says, well, Roswell Gilpatrick told the Kennedy Library in 1970 that he got Lansdale's promotion for him because he's covering for Dulles and Lansdale. I'm waiting for that. He was in 1970. Roswell Gilpatrick told the Kennedy Library that to discredit Fletcher and to cover for Dulles and Lansdale. It's coming. I'm telling you, they'll rationalize that shit in their heads.
So, when Krulak in this letter states very blatantly, that is indeed a picture of Ed Lansdale, the haircut, the stoop, the twisted left hand, the large class ring. It's Lansdale. What in the world is he doing there? Okay. Now, fast forward 6 years to this audio where he plainly states that he has no information or evidence to corroborate that assertion, despite the fact that just a mere 6 years ago, allegedly Fletcher Prouty sent him that photo of the tramps in Dealey Plaza being paraded in front of the school book depository with Lansdale, quote, in the background. And he positively identified him. And now 6 years later, he kind of snickers in the audio and says, no, he has no information corroborating that, and no information corroborating the assertion that Ed Lansdale was in Dealey Plaza or part of the assassination in any way, shape, or form.
Dude, break it down even further. This is 6 years after the date of the letter, correct?
Yes.
The guy asks, Livingstone asks Krulak very specifically about Lansdale in photos in Dealey Plaza. He did not say, well, he sent one of those to me. He sent that photo to me one day, and it did look like him. That's not what he said. He said, yes, he has told me that. He has told me that. Yeah, he's told me he saw Lansdale in some photos, but I don't know nothing about that.
Right. Which leads me to believe why I think that this Krulak letter is a fake, a forgery. And it never happened.
You know what,
now,
man?
Fletcher Prouty has made some off-the-wall assertions and claims throughout his life. And you can take it back to all the stuff that's in the movie JFK, all the stuff about, being sent to Antarctica, presidential protection, yada, yada, yada. And at every turn, so, you can sit here and you can say, oh, well, he snowballed the ARRB. He knew what the score was. He just, told them what they wanted to hear and left. Okay, well, did Colonel Reich tell the ARRB what they wanted to hear? Did William McKinney, Prouty's so-called contact at the 112th, tell the AARB what they wanted to hear? Check this out, Doug. So regarding Prouty, McKinney, this is Fletcher Prouty's alleged contact, okay, with the 112th. McKinney did acknowledge telephonically contacting him after the assassination. However, it was in 1977 or 78. And it was on a matter unrelated to the JFK assassination. By that time, McKinney was a newspaper reporter in Erie, Pennsylvania. He was doing a story on a series of derailings which might have been caused by unsafe track conditions. He called either Amtrak or Conrail, I can't remember which, and asked to speak to their PR person. And Fletcher Prouty got on the phone. They talked for some time about the rail case and then began conversing on other subjects. Prouty's interest in the assassination came up, and McKinney mentioned that he had been in the 316th. McKinney proceeded to tell Prouty the same story that he told us, that people in his unit wondered why they had been told they weren't needed, and that they could have provided extra security had they been asked. They discussed nothing classified, McKinney said, and this was the only reason McKinney ever spoke to Prouty. McKinney said that when he saw the film JFK, he recognized elements of his story in the Mr. X scenario told by Donald Sutherland. However, the movie got it wrong. I asked what he meant, and he said that the film had it ass backwards. He mentioned email details like Reich's rank and unit. He is called a full colonel in the film, in charge of the 112th. In reality, he was a lieutenant colonel and was the CO of the 316th. I asked him whether he would characterize the version of his story that appears in JFK as accurate or inaccurate, and he immediately responded, inaccurate. He said that shortly after the film's release, someone associated with the film was at a college near Erie for a lecture about the film, and that afterwards McKinney had gone up to the man and challenged him on the veracity of what appeared in the film. He said the man didn't want to hear it. I wonder if it was Jim D. Genius. After this incident, McKinney said that he wrote a column for the Erie newspaper, which basically said about the film, if you can't get the basics right, then how are we supposed to trust anything in the film? Now, how powerful of a quote is that?
Wow, that sounds eerily familiar to me. If you can't get the basic details right,
then how are we supposed to trust anything? And he says, I read McKinney some quotes that Prouty attributes to him on the website prouty.org and asked if he remembered saying them. McKinney responded that while he did not remember saying them, and it didn't sound like something that he would say, he could not categorically state that he did not say them. I'm a reporter, and I'm used to getting quotes from people, and I know how this works, meaning that he knows that sometimes people say things that they later don't recall having said. Nonetheless, he did not remember saying the words attributed to him. In closing, I asked McKinney if he had anything he would like to add. He said, yeah, I wish it had been anybody except Fletcher Prouty that had answered my phone call at Amtrak that day.
Very telling. Very telling.
Very telling.
But
now,
waiting on
we're
that.
Supposed to believe that all these people got it wrong, and that Fletcher Prouty himself snowballed the ARRB, right? When in fact, what Fletcher Prouty himself, out of his own mouth, told the ARRB matches succinctly with what Lieutenant Colonel Rudolph Reich told the ARRB, what William Kinney told the ARRB, and what documents they were able to dig up concerning the 112th and the 316th. Not what Fletcher Prouty had asserted in his previous essays and articles and prefaces and whatever else, his information he had been saying in the late 80s and early 90s came from. So you want to attack us for putting out there in the world the words that came out of this man's own mouth.
Exactly. Yeah. How dare you point out a contradiction he did on his own accord? Yeah, what the fuck is that? I didn't say it. He said it.
Right. He said it. We didn't say it. He said it.
Fuck. But you know what, man? You know what? No shit. After this, well, here's the thing. I was done with Fletcher Prouty 2 years ago. All right? I was done with it. What I said what I meant. When I read that letter to him from Weisberg about that Zapata crap, at that point I was done with him. And that was 2 years ago. But then, somebody finally got caught up, and suddenly here we are again. But as far as me moving forward as a student of history, as a student of the history of the assassination, as a podcast host, as a researcher, I'm going, after today, I'm going right back to where I started from 2 years ago and where I was up until March of this year. He's out of my mind. I'm putting him out of my mind because he just can't be trusted. So moving forward, he's just inconsequential to me. I'm just done with Fletcher Prouty and his claims and his particular conspiratorial bent. And I know there are people out there, well, you'll never know the truth. Well, you know what? When you read Dr. Newman's book and get to the point where you fucking understand it, then we'll talk about that other stuff. How about that? So, yeah, as of today, I'm over it. I'm not even going to engage anybody in debate about Fletcher Prouty because as far as I'm concerned, the contradictions negate any possible benefit from continuing to study what he said or wrote. It's over. It's over. I'm not going to learn anything from Fletcher Prouty. Nothing. So I'm done.
So one more thing I want to address about this Prouty shit.
Yeah.
Okay, is this whole allegation regarding the 112th and all this, because that's apparently the only thing that DiEugenio put in his article to rebut our imaginary show we did together called the Lies of Fletcher Prouty. Okay.
Or no, dude. In March, it was called Fletcher Prouty is a Liar.
Right. Well, whatever the title
imaginary,
was, I mean,
the imaginary podcast episode that we never did together that keeps getting mentioned. Yeah.
Right. So, Doug, let me ask you a question.
Douchebags. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Who is in charge of presidential protection?
The United States Secret Service, sir.
You are correct. You would be correct. You would be correct. So, if the Secret Service, who's in charge of the presidential protection, okay, is going to a city. Now, we don't do motorcades anymore in 2022. We haven't done them in a very long time.
Man, nowadays, no shit, dude. They shut down, like around Nashville. If he's going from the airport,
they shut down
like
interstates.
Yeah. I mean, entire corridors, homie. Like a car's not. Vehicles are not allowed. Well, you live up there. What the fuck am I telling you, man? You live in the greater D.C. area. You're up there with Loose Moose Productions.
All the time, man.
Yeah, Loose Moose Productions.
I used to drive for work. I used to drive up around Thurmont, Maryland, which is close to Camp David. Okay, and guarantee you, a couple times a year, I would get caught in the bullshit where you wouldn't be allowed to get on Route 15, which is the interstate that runs up from Frederick, Maryland, up into Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Okay, and off of this Route 15 is the exit for Camp David in the little town of Thurmont. So, if you were trying to get on that road and the president's motorcade was headed there, they would hold you back from even getting on the road until after they were gone. And they would send cop cars or security personnel up and close these exits off miles ahead. You sit there for 5 minutes and wait, and here they come, and they're rolling, buddy. They're going about 100 miles an hour. There's nothing on the road in front of them. And as soon as they peel out of there, they wait. As soon as they go by, they waited like another minute or two, and then they would release everybody back on the road. But by then, they're so far and gone, you ain't catching them.
Nah, you ain't catching them.
So, and they would roll deep, like you wouldn't even know which SUV the president's in. There's, 6 or 7 identical ones, and they're all in a row. And then there's other, plainclothes cars and sedans, and everything else. I mean, it's just crazy. But we don't do that anymore. But back when we did, okay, so if you're going to a city and you're the Secret Service, you would assess the security needed to protect the president properly. And that would entail consulting with the local authorities, be it the Dallas Police Department and Sheriff's Office, and determine whether or not between the Secret Service and the local entities who are there in that city and who know how to shut roads down, they are familiar with the lay of the land type deal, the best routes to get from here to there without incident, things like that.
Yeah.
You would consult with the local authorities and determine whether or not between the Secret Service itself and the local authorities that, you had enough manpower to properly protect the president during this motorcade. Okay. So you would station cops all over the motorcade route. You would have motorcycle police, surrounding the limousine and the dignitaries, and you would have plainclothes police in the crowd, probably everywhere. You would put a cop up on the roof of a building here or there, whatever the case may be, and if you determined, if it was your call and you're the Secret Service guy, that would that would be adequate enough protection. Okay, then that's the call you made. Now, if you determine if JFK is going, because Dallas was a big enough municipality, and the surrounding county had enough of a police force to offer adequate protection. Okay, now if you're going to some little podunk, fucking hick town somewhere where JFK is going to give a speech to some coal miners in bumfuck West Virginia, and their police force is 5 dudes, you know,
Yeah.
you might need to call in some reinforcements, either from the National Guard or a close by military asset, or from a base or whatever. Okay, that's a call you made. But these military groups, they didn't call the Secret Service to offer their services for a visit. Okay, the Secret Service, if they needed them, would call them. Okay, and ask them for their help in protecting the president. Okay, now let me read to you, Doug, something that Lieutenant Colonel Rudolph Reich wrote concerning Prouty and Mark Lane's assertions. Okay, and this is not ARRB related whatsoever.
Okay,
this is something totally different. This was an enclosure letter that he was writing to somebody, some researcher, sometime in the 90s. I don't have the full, complete document, or I don't know who it was to, is what I'm saying. I just have the body of the letter and who it was from. So he says, recently I purchased the 1991 edition of a book entitled Plausible Denial, which deals with the question, was the CIA involved in the assassination of JFK? The author is Mark Lane. Now, Rudolph Reich is writing this whole letter to somebody, okay? So these are all the words of Rudolph Reich. The introduction to this book was written in August of 61. I think that's supposed to be 91. By L. Fletcher Prouty, retired from the Air Force, alleged to have been chief and founder of the Office of Special Operations with the Office of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in 62 to 63. Prior to that, with the CSO with the Office of the Secretary of Defense. In his introduction to the above-mentioned book, in support of the author Mark Lane effort to tear aside the curtain of lies to reveal hidden elements of the true story, Prouty makes numerous insinuations of CIA trained men and others, CIA hitmen, assassins, and later on the spy trial in Florida, which indicated that these faceless assassins had been used to kill President Kennedy under the care of the CIA to shield them. Further on in the introduction, Prouty states another major contributing factor in the death of JFK was that because the normal presidential protection had been relaxed, the presence of limited number of Secret Service and the total lack of military presidential protection units, selected military personnel trained to augment Secret Service, the president had almost no experienced protection that day. To continue proof or support his theory, he, Prouty, continues in this introduction as follows. I called a man who I knew was a member of the 112th Military Intelligence Group in the 4th Army Area, Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio, Texas. The information he alleged from notes Prouty made during the progress of the telephone call to this man, quote, who I knew was a member of the 112th Military Group, end quote. I, the writer of this letter, Lieutenant Colonel Rudolph Reich, was underlined, the man he knew was with the 112th Military Group. The quote introduction lists the following alleged answers given to Prouty in support of his theory. Although I was a group operations officer, I do not recall that the group section had Lee Oswald and Dallas as a target or threat. Later on, as the commander of the INTC detachment, I categorically state that the detachment had no such threat or target. The statement that we were prepared to go to Dallas and when you trained, you do it. This is a preposterous, manufactured, libelous lie. My command was not designated Presidential Protection Unit, nor had we ever received training to be such a unit. The commander of that unit, and this is what Prouty's saying now, the commander of that unit, Reich, had offered his unit's services for the entire Texas trip, but they were point blank refused, end quote. He was categorically refused by the Secret Service. Quote, hot words were exchanged between the agencies. Reich's refute says this, how absurd. These manufactured libelous lies. Does Prouty have dislikes or put blame on the Secret Service? Do Secret Service records record such a happening? I never, underlined, had contact or liaison with the Secret Service. Again, I state that these false and malicious statements alleged to be made by me tend to expose me to contempt among my peers and injure my reputation. I only want the truth to be known. As an enclosure to the above, I included other factors bearing on the situation and other related data. Sincerely, Rudolph M. Reich. So
there you go.
There you have it, folks. I mean, the allegations that for whatever reason, the 112th were told to stand down is bullshit. Bullshit. And Fletcher Prouty is the king of lies. And I'll say it because you know what? All of his statements were refuted by everybody he mentioned that was alleged to be connected with all this. Of course, Lansdale can't talk from the grave, and neither can General Krulak. But when Krulak did speak on it, when he was still alive, he refuted what Prouty said. When Prouty himself went to the ARB, he refuted himself in every major statement he ever said concerning the Kennedy assassination, and he provided zero documents to the ARB.
And,
zero.
Dude, as far as Prouty goes, I mean, like I say, that letter that he wrote to Weisberg, less than 3 months after George H.W. Bush is inaugurated. Now, you know how I feel about this Zapata, Houston, Barbara J. wet-brained horse shit that some people still believe. Man, it's like I say, the timing of that letter and the fact that we know it's disinformation and it's that particular set of disinformation pieces, then like I said, that tells me he was either on the vanguard of getting this out and spread or he was the spearhead itself. So you know what? I don't care what he told the ARB. I don't care what he told Oliver Stone. I don't care what he wrote in all those magazines. I don't care what he put in this book because ultimately it's just stories. So you know what? I'll follow
him in the
scholars.
same vein as Judith Very Baker, James Files.
I will follow
Fletcher Prouty.
I'll stick with the scholars like Dr. Walt Brown and Dr. John Newman. Bill Simpich. I'll stick with those scholars, and I will continue to move forward in current research. I'm done. I'm just done. It's not worth the consideration. That's it.
Yep, we can disregard anything that Prouty ever said.
Dismiss.
And not take it into consideration when trying to figure out the events of November 22nd, 1963, because he was not in a position to know jack shit.
Well, and also, in 30 years, where's it gotten us? That line of thinking, following the breadcrumb trails that he left, where has it gotten us? I'll tell you where it got us.
Unfortunately, it got us a movie about JFK.
Well, you know where it got us? It got us to the third-hand allegation that Allen Dulles was the mastermind because Bill Harvey got on a plane in Rome and was spotted by a coworker, a plane that was due to land in Dallas, Texas, a transatlantic flight from Rome to Dallas. That's where all that got us. But then you find out that there was no transatlantic flight from Rome to Dallas in existence in 1963. You go, oh, well, there you go. Well, there's that. The CIA, the consensus view of CIA primacy. Yeah, it's 1998. There's a new episode of Friends on tonight. Don't forget it. Anyway, Dude,
Anyway.
the clock is ticking, my friend, on our. We always
that's all
forget
we
about
have
that.
to say.
Yeah. Is that all we got to say? Well, for now.
Because if they have, and I'll call them out, if they have any balls whatsoever, because one of two things is going to happen, Doug, as a result of all this. Either they are going to ignore completely and stay in their own bubble and keep talking their shit and never respond, or if they have any balls, and as someone so eloquently tried to make me eat crow in the Ed Forum, they can serve up a couple hot plates of crow and eat it themselves. But I'm telling you right now that the leader of Black Op Radio, the consigliere of Proudy.org, a guy who makes money off of his dead body selling his documents, is never going to admit that Fletcher Prouty was a fraud and a liar. Never going to admit it, because that would mean he loses all credibility of everything that he's ever said and done, and would also be a monetary loss for him. So I'm not looking for that option. So good luck, fellas, and your comeback, and we'll be waiting.
Well, I don't want to hear anything about Prouty. As far as I go, as far as for my part,
well, we've said our piece. I mean,
my personal,
refute it.
Well,
if you can, show evidence he knew Joe and Eve.
I don't think there's going to be any
show
response.
Us some evidence of any of his claims. Show us any evidence of any of his claims. Period.
Well, you know what? As per the episode I uploaded yesterday, defend the gigantic, amateurishly, comically, horribly, utterly ginormous mistake in his review of Newman's book. Defend that. Defend Prouty. Now, do you believe that Operation Zapata was named after an oil company as well? All right, I want evidence of Prouty and Joe Anides knowing each other by name. It's a lot to counter. I don't want to hear about that. What I would rather hear about is explaining that line in paragraph 8 of section 3 of the review. The claims that Dr. Newman admits what he claims. Let's not talk about Prouty. Let's talk about that. I'd love to talk about that. And other than that, man, I'm done with it. What about you, Rob?
Well, I got one email.
That's all we got?
We have 2 emails. I got 2 emails.
I got a feeling it's going to be a fat sack next week, dude. Next month. All right. Well, hey, dude, we haven't ended the segment. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an extended version of...
Oh, well, allow me to retort.
On Quick Hits. And now, ladies and gentlemen, everybody's favorite and this month's shortest segment.
Oh, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Bozeman.
Emails. Apparently this month, Rob's sack is shriveled, small.
Yes. My pleas fell on deaf ears for emails on the last show.
Hey, man.
And there's a lot of lint. There's a lot of lint in the bag, buddy. But let's get right to it.
All right, let's get right to both of them.
Important. Our listeners are important.
They are. And, I haven't. We've had a drop off on emails, but play and download numbers, no. So I don't guess the two necessarily correlate.
No, and these 2 emails are very lengthy, so and very well done. So we got something to get into here. So Our first one comes from Poof Patch, our buddy Poof Patch, who says, "Okay, so I've been digesting JFK videos, and I was wondering about your thoughts on one video titled Oswald's Final Phone Call, wherein a Dr. Proctor claims that Oswald attempted to reach former U.S. intelligence officer John Hurt, or the Raleigh Call. It appears that Dr. Proctor's story has elements of truth. However, he cites the Vesiana Morris Bishop story, which has been debunked. Personally, I don't believe David Phillips would have exposed himself in that way. The second half of the video, however, features a second person named Jim Mars, who claims to be a journalist and who appears to be very impressed with his ability to recant the day's events. Again, elements of truth mixed with speculation. So
Jim Mars was a great guy. He's a great guy, man. The late Jim Mars, dude, man.
You don't know who in the hell Jim Mars is? Jesus Christ, man.
Hey, man. Now, he was a researcher, but his work, his books are presented more as he was a reporter. So it's presented in that way.
Yeah, he put it all out there and you decide.
I don't think I ever heard Jim Mars express like a detailed theory or anything. He was just like, well, this happened and this, you know what I mean? He was a reporter. Gave you all the information, but man, you can't say anything bad about Jim Mars, dude. That guy, he would be on our Mount Rushmore if we had one, for sure.
If he was alive, he would be on. We'd have already had him on Quick Hits many times.
Oh man, what are you talking about? Yeah,
I could listen to that guy's interviews for forever. I mean, he was a great interview. So as to the Raleigh call, I tend to believe the switchboard operator story. However, it is difficult to believe that the two men who entered the DPD were not identified and no one knows who they were, and at the same time, the highest profile suspect ever is being detained. That's hard to believe. As the story goes, these unnamed men prevented Oswald's call from going through the switchboard. The switchboard operators were complicit in preventing said phone call from connecting. In my view, blocking a call is totally different from a wiretap or an interception. It appears that Oswald was hung out to dry. In this scenario, it appears that the handlers are trying to distance themselves. Being an asset does not make Oswald an assassin or an accomplice, but it does appear that he was trying to reach his contact. If Oswald was attempting to reach a go-between cutout by phone, quote, John Hurt, end quote, that connects Oswald in a different capacity, it says to me that his activities were indeed covert. So, Doug, what do you know about the Raleigh call, and what are your feelings about this story?
I do know a lot about it, but I don't know what to think of it. I have not made up my mind one way or another. Dr. Walt Brown brings up something interesting about that, in that, you know, the Lee Oswald, the alleged Dear Mr. Hunt letter?
Yes.
Yes. Some say, you know, it was, I can't remember what it says. Something like, I need to know where I stand. What do I do next? Something like that. Mm-hmm. Dr. Walt Brown makes an interesting bit of speculation about that. He says you can look in different places, you know, examples of Oswald's handwriting, and that could very well say, Dear Mr. Hurt. Like if you look at the way Oswald's R's and N's, sometimes, you know, cursive, sometimes they got a little squiggly and looked a lot alike. But he said it could, you know, hey, maybe this, and it makes sense. But, man, I don't know. I've heard as much that is convincing about the Raleigh call as I have that is not. But that is not to impeach or cast aspersions on Dr. Proctor's work whatsoever. That is, I am familiar with his work, written anyway, and it's good work, and it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I would say, at least from everything that I've seen, that there was some kind of an invisible hand, if you will, steering Lee Harvey Oswald to do certain things at certain times in his life. At least that's the impression that I get. Like, hey, guy, create this Fair Play for Cuba committee. Create this alter ego of A.J. Heidel. All right, go to Mexico. Get a job here. You know, do this. You know, do this, do that type of thing. I believe there was some kind of an invisible hand helping Oswald to do what he was told to do, or to act the way that he was acting. Because when you look at it standing alone, none of it makes sense. Okay, so I believe he was being steered in certain directions to do specific things. And whether that be from an unknowing asset to the CIA or the FBI or something of this nature, to put him in certain places at certain times doing certain things, is up for debate. Also, I would also say that there was an intense effort put forth because one thing that Lee Harvey Oswald said many times, more than once, I will say, not many times, but more than once, at least 2 or 3, while he was in police custody, that he wanted some legal representation. He wanted a lawyer. Okay. And apparently they weren't letting him have one. Okay. Through whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, while
they were keeping him from having a lawyer.
And insisting later that he didn't ask for one.
Right.
You know, that blows my mind. I mean, the guy, every time he got in front of the damn press, he said so. Every time he got in front of anybody, he said so, you know.
Yeah. And allegedly, you know, we have these guys from the ACLU, or a guy from the ACLU showing up wanting to be his lawyer that he told no to. You know, we're told that he tried to get a hold of John Apt, or he told Ruth Payne to get a hold of John Apt, a lawyer, a communist lawyer from New York. You know, we hear about Dean Andrews being sent to Dallas to represent Oswald. This phone call supposedly to John Hurt to ask for, you know, legal assistance or whatever, you know, the reason for the call was, I don't know, but it seems a very weird dichotomy of the fact that, you know, his biggest vocal complaint while in custody was that he didn't have a lawyer, and he was being denied a lawyer. So it's a weird dichotomy when you see him asking for lawyers. You have lawyers showing up at the DPD to represent him he doesn't want. Somebody allegedly trying to be sent to New Orleans to represent him. Him reaching out to Ruth Payne about Apt, or reaching out to John Hurt. It's, you know, it's weird. So I really don't know what to believe, you know, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that he was blocked from connecting a call to John Hurt in North Carolina. Who the hell was this guy? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, who the hell knows? It could have been anybody. I'm fairly certain it wasn't David Atlee Phillips.
No.
So, good email, Poof Patch.
Yeah, one of those mysteries.
Dug into a lot further.
One of those mysteries that's still out there that we have yet to solve, Mr. Poof. Poof Daddy. That's what I'll call him.
Poof Daddy, yeah. Our next one comes from our buddy, our friend, Mr. Joe Borelli.
Hey, Joe. What's up, buddy? Hey, I was texting with that dude yesterday, man.
Yep, he's one of the good ones, Doug. So
I think that guy is one of the original TDA honor roll members. He has indeed been down since day one.
Yeah, he's OG. He's OG status. So Joe says, "Hey guys, wow, what a great couple weeks for someone who can't get enough of both of your JFK content."
Well, hey, dude, we're trying to get caught up. For those of you that don't know, I think I mentioned it earlier. I had a pretty bad bout with COVID. So that's why there was nothing in May. So we're just trying to get caught up, man. Get you guys some good content.
Yeah, and I've just been lazy as fuck for the past 5 months when it comes to Lone Gunman. I lost my motivation, but I'm getting it back. You know, it comes and goes. It ebbs and flows, you know?
It does. It does. And somebody call you an embarrassment, that'll fucking motivate you.
Yeah, God damn it. He says, what a great couple weeks for someone who can't get enough of both of your JFK content. 3 TLG episodes in the past 11 days, a 2-hour Dallas action banger, and a masterful Dallas action special report. And now what's sure to be a straight fire quick hits. You goddamn right, Joe. As someone who only got into the JFK assassination 2.5 years ago. All right, we take back your OG status, Joe. We revoked your card, sir.
Open mouth, insert foot.
I credit you guys for me saving at least a decade or more of wasted time reading and analyzing allegations of people like Prouty and Judy Baker, who Bob Clark, love that you put in the same sentence together. And I am eternally grateful that you've pointed me towards researchers like Larry Hancock, John Newman, Bill Simpich, and Carmine Savastano. I really can't stand the type of researchers who can't or won't change their theories based on new evidence. Jim Eugenio. Sorry, excuse me. I had something in my throat. Context or a change of thinking because they are either too stubborn or because they have an agenda, and narrative that they have taken a stand on in the past that they've profited from. Yeah. Of course, Jim DiEugenio fits into that category. Yeah, he does. And it's actually a shame because it not only muddies the waters even further, but it then makes you question all of the legitimate research they might have done in the past. Ding, 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 Joe. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's also a shame.
Except for 8 or 9 acolytes on a certain website. For everybody else, exactly.
It's also a shame someone like Prouty, who was legitimately working in the Pentagon during JFK's term, could have really provided history with some amazing context as to the vibe within the military-industrial complex and the intel communities during the time around the assassination, that instead, all we have is lies, misinformation, and more confusion. And it's one of the reasons why we'll never probably get decisive answers on a lot of the questions in this case. Which brings me around, Doug, to Prouty's assertion that he basically wrote NSAM 263, and who Krulak supposedly flew that to Hawaii to McNamara and Taylor in a beautifully embossed leather binder, to which they flew back to D.C. and presented it to President Kennedy as if they had written it. And really, the only, quote, proof of this is because Prouty said so. And that just don't hold no water for your boy no more. So, to continue here, sorry I had an aside there.
Well, that goes back to another philosophical difference between forward-moving research and the big consensus view thing. They want to tell you that it was about Vietnam policy, that he was murdered because of his Vietnam policy. I think it was revenge for the Bay of Pigs at its heart, honestly.
Yep.
And that is a philosophical difference between the two. So, you know what? If Prouty did write NSAM, whatever that number was, it doesn't have a damn thing to do with Operation Tilt and John Martino and David Morales and Bill Harvey and John Rosselli and Interpin and Amworld.
The
Biopoly Raid, Amworld, Manuel Artime, Emilio Rodriguez, Cuba Ops. And I think, my opinion, the motivation for the JFK assassination originated in Cuba Ops, not long-term plans for Southeast Asia. And that is a major philosophical difference in the two schools of thought. So, man, if Prouty wrote if they want to say he wrote the damn Gettysburg Address, let him.
I agree, Doug. And for those of y'all out there who's not real firm on where your boy, that's me, Bob Clark, stands on, who was behind the assassination and why it occurred, I also concur that it goes back to the whole Cuba deal with the Bay of Pigs and not necessarily Vietnam policy, because, you have to remember what the Bay of Pigs operation was. It was a CIA fiasco intertwined with anti-Castro Cubans. And I'm sure that day, a lot of good anti-Castro Cubans and a lot of good CIA agents or assets lost their lives in the Bay of Pigs invasion due to the fact that there was no military support. And there wasn't going to be any because Kennedy did not want a war with Cuba. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that this was an official CIA response towards Kennedy from the Bay of Pigs. Here's what I'm saying. That rogue elements involved in specifically JM Wave and Cuba operations against Castro had their hands tied. Okay? And specifically wanted to do something in retaliation because of this, along with, wouldn't take much to convince some of these anti-Castro Cubans to get on board with something like killing Kennedy, because a lot of good people, a lot of friends, family were lost in this whole operation. So, you set up a guy to take the fall using a rifle that was supposedly ordered by a member of the Fair Play for Cuba committee, a so-called Castro supporter. Okay, I'm talking about A.J. Heidel here. This fictional anti-Castro, or sorry, not anti-Castro, a Castro supporter. Okay, a Cuba supporter, supposedly killing the president of the United States, which would in turn lead to a full-scale invasion and decimation of the island of Cuba. Okay, is what should have happened. But that's not what happened. Okay, and I think that's the most logical explanation to me about who executed the plan for the retaliation against Kennedy for the Bay of Pigs fiasco. I don't believe it was an official CIA operation. I believe it was rogue elements of the CIA coordinating with some anti-Castro elements inside the United States too, because I'm sure they were frustrated. They couldn't get these raids going. They couldn't do what they wanted to accomplish, concerning these independent raids that they were doing themselves. And they took their frustrations out at home. They couldn't get to Castro, so what's the next best thing? Kill the president, make it look like a Castro supporter did it, and our government would do their job for them. So I think that was the plan, Doug.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Mr. Rob.
All right. So to go on with Joe's email here, he said, I wanted to address a segment you had on a couple of quick hits ago with guest Jeffrey Shanks, which was maybe my favorite episode out of the 400 plus I've listened to from you guys.
That was a good one.
Well, thank you, Joe. Yeah, Jeffrey Shanks is awesome. We love it.
Yeah, the no-name archaeologist.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. DiEugenio. Back to Mr. DiEugenio. He did not take kindly to Mr. Shanks' 7 out of 10 star review of the JFK Oliver Stone documentary. That was a dirty smear. Mr. DiEugenio, with all due respect, Jeffrey Shanks has more degree than your thermostat. Okay?
Yeah. He says, towards the end of that episode, you guys collectively theorized on the Tippett fuck-up being on Ruby because Crayford bounced and left town is exactly how a mafia boss would have viewed it if that task was delegated to Ruby. The way all three of you brainstormed and built on each other's ideas to come up with the most plausible theory I've heard yet on why Ruby had to kill Oswald was nothing short of amazing. Well, thank you, Joe. That's what we do here. We're fucking amazing. Okay.
It's what we do.
Yeah. He says, I'm sure you're sick of my praise by now, so I wanted to get your take on something I randomly came across regarding Andy Anderson.
As if I could be sick of praise. Joe, come on.
Andy Anderson, who your guest Jeffrey spoke about during that episode.
Oh, yeah.
To refresh memories. Yeah, Andy Anderson was the manager of the parking garage in Fort Worth, and also an H.H. Andy Anderson who managed the Adolphus Hotel in New Jack Ruby. And apparently Ruby had a guest pass for Anderson to the Carousel Club when he was arrested.
Right.
I was watching a Frontline 93 Oswald special filled with all the best CIA-sponsored disinfo specialists, and I came across another Andy Anderson. Quote from the segment, Frontline researchers poured through Oswald's partially declassified CIA file at the National Archives. The researcher says, one day, I picked up a piece of paper and turned it over, and I could see through the back. I could read handwriting that said Andy Anderson, O on Oswald. Later on, we found out that O was the office symbol for the Domestic Contacts Division, which would have led the debriefing mission on Oswald had there been one.
Oh, hell.
Was there maybe a third, or was this one of the ones we already know about? Andy Anderson that worked for the Domestic Contact Division who debriefed Oswald? Or could it have been a reference to one of the Andy Andersons you just spoke about? Because this was literally 2 lines in an old documentary. I'm thinking this might not have come up on Jeff's research or search results when he was researching the Andy Andersons prior to that show. It probably means nothing, or it's one of the million other coincidences this case is riddled with, but I wanted to bring it up to your attention and see what you guys think it could mean, and maybe Jeff will hear this. Oh, of course he will. He is a fucking listener and has an idea on the possible significance. Thanks again, guys. Hoping that maybe next year for the 60th anniversary, there will be a big conference with reputable researchers and I can buy you guys a beer or something if you go. Cheers, Joe.
I will definitely take a cup of coffee. No doubt about that. Buy me all the coffee you want. My son told me just the other day that my blood type is coffee and Coke Zero. So, yeah. You can buy me a Coke Zero, Joe. Absolutely, buddy. Thank you so much for that awesome email and the kind words, my friend.
Yeah, and he included a screenshot picture of the Andy Anderson 00 on Oswald on this document. So
please share that via email with me, sir.
Yeah, it's a very, very good, Joe. Very good find. And look, man, nothing surprises me in this case. If Andy Anderson was kind of like a John Martin or Jean Martino kind of Jack Martin CIA bullshit fake name that people were using back then. It's very interesting that Andy Anderson debriefed Oswald, which I don't doubt. Or they had. I mean, the guy was a defector to Russia when he came back. Of course, the CIA would have debriefed him. Of course, the FBI would have talked to him. And there's no official record of the CIA doing so. Now, the FBI is certainly interested in him. They certainly talked to him when he got back, but not so much with the CIA. And that is a very good find, sir. And the name just is amazing. Of course, it is Andy Anderson. I'd be even more amazed if it was John Martin.
Yeah, But send that to me, Rob. I want to see that.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, man. Cool.
I'll forward the email to you right now.
Awesome. So you said that was all the emails we had, right?
That's it, you sorry bastards.
Oh, shit, dude.
I seriously hope next time we get some... I expect Tim the Eugenicist Sweatpants to come forward after this episode with some good shit. I'm expecting it.
I hope he's okay.
You can send that good shit to quickhitsjfk@gmail.com at your leisure.
Or right now. Either way, whatever you want to do. Hell yeah. Well, shit, Rob. Well, we had a lot to say this month, didn't we, buddy?
We did.
All right. Well,
That's what happens when people disparage you in public.
That's right, man.
Be prepared for a retort.
Be prepared for a long retort. Well, all right, man. Let's get the hell out of here and grab something to eat. What do you think? I'm
down. I'm about ready to go see Jurassic World Dominion with my boy today. So, yeah.
Dude, fun, man. We're making dinner for everybody, and then all the kids are going to be gone later tonight for the rest of the weekend. So that's what I got going on.
I mean, sexy time.
Oh, yeah, baby. Wow, you get it. Here we go. Well, hey, look, I got shit to do, man. Important shit.
Right.
Let's get the hell out of here, man. Start us out. Let's wrap it up, bro. There's the music.
Let's do it. So if you like what you heard here and you're new to the show, feel free to search for the Lone Gunman Podcast on everywhere that fine podcasts are listened to. You'll find it. Google it. It's on Facebook at the Lone Gunman podcast page. On Twitter, it's at the Lone Gunman 7. Send me ridiculous tweets and follow there. Also, YouTube, the Lone Gunman Podcast has a channel. Please listen and subscribe there. I'd like to reach 1,000. That'd be great. I'm 200 and some away now, so make it happen, folks. Make it happen. Douglas.
Yo, what the hell, man? You guys get his thing up there, man. Come on, help a brother out. And you can find my joke of a podcast that no one takes seriously, The Dallas Action, presented by Wall Street Window everywhere you find quality podcasts. Badass, serious, actual detail-oriented podcasts. Real, forward-moving, critical thinking, assassination research without agendas or anything to sell. Another fine podcast from the folks at Drop D Podcast Productions in the heart of Music Row in Music City, USA. So for Rob Clark and Bob Clark, this is Doug Campbell saying, tune in again next time when Rob will turn to the Re-Education Borum's Willie Needs Some Nut and say,
hey, kiss us.
We are out.
Pork rinds out.
Because the interest is so strategically high.